Hi, I'm Beth, and today we're going to be using the Sizzix Big Shot Plus machine to make this beautiful bunting. For the start of this project, we're going to cut up all of the bunting shapes that we need using some hessian. You can see here I've got an old hessian sack. I could use that. Could use a variety of different types of hessian to get that rustic look. I'm going to get rid of the platforms there on the Big Shot Plus as we don't need it. And then I'm going to layer up my hessian onto the die. With this die we've got two shapes of bunting and I'm going to be using both of them for the project, but to start with I'm just going to cut out this triangle piece that I need. As we know, the Big Shot Plus and these dies are suitable for cutting out multiple layers of fabric, so I'm just going to concertina my fabric over the shape that I'm cutting, making sure that I'm covering the entire shape I want to cut. There we go. There we go, covers all of those bits. And then we're getting our cutting pads, popping one on top and the other underneath. I'm going to pop them in the back of the machine. There we go. Now, as hessian is an uneven fabric, I'm going to roll it away from me, and then just before it reaches the end, I'm going to roll it all the way back, just so I make sure that I've got a really precise cut. And once that's all the way back through, take that top one off, and there we go. I've got 4 of my hessian triangles ready to use. For the bunting I'm going to make, we're also going to be personalising it with some letters. I've got a very pretty message for a wedding, so we're going to go for a Mr. and Mrs. So here I've got my die with some letters on there, and I've got some backed fabric ready for a plique. With this one, it's really important that you actually put it with the paper facing up. The reason being that otherwise you're going to get your letters backwards. So again, I'm going to just get my plate, pop it on the cutting pad, put my other one back on top again. And then pop that to one side as well, take off the cutting pad, and there we go. I've got my first letter cut out. I'd repeat that as many times for all the letters and all the bunting shapes as I need. I'm going to be using 2 pieces of the bunting hessian for each of the shapes so that I can get a really nice 3D effect on those. So count up how many of the shapes you're going to need, how many of the bunting for your message, and then double it so you have enough bunting pieces ready to go. So once you've cut all of your letters and your bunting out, we're then going to place them out and iron them in place. So peeling off the paper backing from this one here, I'm going to pop it centrally within my bunting, making sure I've got enough space around the edges for my seam allowance, and then also measuring a good distance from the top. For me, along all the letters, I've used 3/4 of an inch, just so that I've got a consistent placement within the triangle. Once I've decided on my placement, I'm then going to iron it in place, and you can see that this one is ironed and firmly in place. And once I've got all of my letters ironed, I'm then going to come across to this one where I've stitched it. And you can see for this alphabet, I've done a cute little bit of a stitching straight lines within the shape that just accentuate the alphabet letter. So you've got a really nice accentuated finish. Once I've done that with all the letters, I'm then going to start piecing together my bunting. To make up your bunting and add in the lace, you're going to take your letter, unroll some lace, and we're going to pin the lace in place. Now it's important on this one that the edge that you want to see on the outside is pointing in towards your letter in the centre, and that's going to mean that when you've turned it out the right way, it's going to be facing the right way. What we're going to do is pop a plain piece on top of this. Now this is a little bit fiddlier to do, but actually if you pin it as you go, you'll find that you'll get a really good finish. I'm giving myself a slightly wider seam allowance because with hessian it can tend to fray, so it's really important to make sure that you're allowing enough so that you're not going to, as you turn it out, you're not going to lose the shape of the piece. So I'm just lining that down all the way down there. I'm going to pop a couple of pins in, and then as we get to the end, the important thing here is to reach the point where your lace is going to stop and then you're going to put in just a couple of pleats into that lace there and then change direction. The pleats mean that you can change direction, but they also mean that when you turn it out the right way, you've got enough fabric there, enough lace to go right the way around the bottom, and it's not going to pull the bunting out of shape. So I'm holding it firmly until I've got a pin in there, and then I'm going to come all the way back up the top here, just popping a couple more pins in as I go. There we are, just one last one there. And then just trim the lace to size. So you can use any type of lace that you've got. It's really nice to get a mix and matched effect. And if you've got some that don't match each other in colour, you can always tea dye some or bleach others so that you get them all the same tone. Once you've pinned this in place, you're then going to stitch. And as I said, I used a slightly wider seam allowance all the way along here. And I just trimmed a little bit of excess from the ends there, taking the point off a touch to make it easier to then turn inside out. So just got some scissors and just trimmed off towards the point, just so that I haven't got as much volume there to turn it out the right way. I'm then going to pop my hands in. And the important thing on this bunting is to really maintain the point. So I'm really making sure I've got that point in my hand there. There we go. And then turning it out the right way. And then you can use the lace just to help you pull it out. Or you get a chopstick in there just to push out those final little bits so you get the nice edge on the point. As you can see, I've got one here that I've finished. Pop those the right way around and you start to see what the message is going to say. And then once it's done, I've pressed it so that I've got a really nice edge. I know that my lace is lying flat, and I've also really pushed that point open. I'm going to repeat that process with all the lettering that I've got and then take it on to the next stage. Now for the final stage of this bunting, we're going to take the ribbon that we're using and we're just going to trim off the edges of this bunting here. There we go. I'm going to leave a nice long edge of ribbon so that I'll be able to tie it up to wherever I need to tie it. And then I'm going to place my letter on there, my first letter, and fold over. I'm then going to pin that in place. There we go. I'm going to put another pin in over on this other end. And that just means that you're definitely going to be able to catch your ribbon on both sides. What you don't want is to stitch it and then realise you've only half attached the ribbon. So there we go. Like that. You're going to leave a little bit of space between each letter, as much as you like, and you can add in some of the other shapes of the bunting as well to break up words. Now for the finished product, what I've ended up with is this cute little bunting here with a lovely personalised message on from Mr. and Mrs. I'll move these other bits out of the way so you can see it in all its glory. So what we've got here is each of the letters that I've done, I've accentuated with the lace, and then just to break it up a little bit, I put some plain triangles in between the words, and then on the ends, because it is a celebration, some little flag bunting shapes there. And as you can see, you could do any letters that you want to do. You could do this for a child's room, you could do this for a birthday party, and this could become a real keepsake. If you were to do something like this, Mr. and Mrs, and in this colour, you could also make it a family heirloom, and this could be for something borrowed that somebody uses for the next wedding as well. For more ideas and inspiration, head on over to the blog or the website, and don't forget to share your makes with the hashtag MySizzixHome on social media. Thanks for watching, enjoy making.